Tales Season 3.
Welcome back everyone to another episode of the Screamapura Tales, where we share chilling encounters and spine-tingling stories about the unknown. My name is Hafiz Rahman.
I'm Genesis.
Oh,
My name is Ravi G.
stop. That was just an intro only.
Fun what? No?
Okay. Today we have a very special guest with us, okay? The unsung heroes of healthcare in Singapore. None other than our very handsome guest today, Staffan!
Hello all, I'm Staffan Stewart.
Wow.
Thanks for getting my name right.
Right?
Yes,
Thank you. Welcome to my house.
Cool.
He's like, this is house?
Not very Hafiz Rahman like.
So you're a healthcare professional, right?
Yes, that's
so
right.
How many years have you been in this
So I've
industry?
been 10 years in nursing and I've worked in a few different hospitals before. So
Interesting.
different departments also like A&E, the accident and emergency department, also the intensive care units.
Is there such a thing as a better hospital?
I shall not say this on camera.
There is. Okay, never
So
mind.
there is lah.
There is, of course,
Yeah,
of course lah.
Okay, so 10
There's
years
some
in the...
hospital that's better than the others.
I did not say that either.
I'm not here.
Okay. 10 years in the healthcare industry comes with a lot of stories for sure.
course.
We can't
Yes.
wait to hear those. But
Yes.
before that, what are your thoughts on hospitals and death?
So recently I saw this very sobering post on Instagram where it says along the lines of the halls of a hospital have heard more prayers than places of worship. So I thought that was like quite depressing,
That's
but
hard.
quite true and quite
Yeah.
like in the gut, like yeah, that's true, you know, because when you are dealing with life and death, you know, the only thing that you have is prayers, right?
Yep,
So
true.
very interesting. What about you?
You know, at first, when you were talking about that line, right, it sounded very profound. I thought that you were talking about people who are praying for themselves, you know.
Oh, maybe also,
I think it
probably.
encompasses everyone lah.
Yeah.
Everyone,
Right.
lah.
Yeah. Especially if, like, for example, like you are sitting outside of a clinic of a plastic surgeon now, like, please don't mess up my
Please, my
nose.
face.
Please, whatever happens, don't
Right.
mess up my nose.
The nose always, right?
Do not inject the wrong cheek.
Oh, I just got that. Okay.
Ravi, what are your thoughts about hospital in general?
Coming back.
Oh, I just got it
Podcast.
now. Okay, sorry guys.
Genesis,
A
get
bit
on board.
Slow, sorry.
Welcome to Screamapura Tales
I thought
Season
you talking
3.
about. Okay.
Okay, go.
For me, hospitals is a place where you go in and you get yourself sorted and you leave, because I feel like the more you are there, it sort of brings this energy towards you
It
where
sucks your-
it drains you out and it makes you feel like something is going to go wrong.
But I wonder if that's true for Staffan.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that same? Because I mean that is your place of. That's your place where you work. You know, so you are there like 12-hour shifts. I would imagine.
Easily.
Correct.
But the bonuses are not bad, lah.
Coming back to Screamapura again.
So because my mom is in healthcare, and like I've been at the receiving end of these very generous
Bonuses and payouts.
bonuses by
Which
the government of
hospital is that?
You don't
Singapore.
say look at the ring.
Which hospital is
One
that?
of the better hospitals in Singapore.
Coming back to Screamapura again. So,
Hantu. Got see hantu before or not?
God.
tell us about that lah.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
So in hospitals, we do have this belief that if you eat pau, you might need to tapau the patient.
Oh.
Am I right? Pau.
Because pao means wrap in Chinese.
Wait, pause.
Right.
So who eats pau? The patient's family,
So
the
like
doctor?
the staff.
The staff
shouldn't be
in
eating the
general.
pau.
Yeah.
So if you eat the pao, you will have to wrap somebody.
Oh no, okay.
wow.
I love that. Pau.
Yes,
And also there's also some words I cannot say, right?
Yeah, the Q word, which is
Oh.
quiet. So that's a forbidden word in healthcare.
Why
Right.
so?
The moment you say that, oh, today is a quiet day, the next moment you can see your admissions flooding in.
So it's like you jinx yourself.
Yes,
Same
that's
lah,
right.
same lah. Like in
Okay.
theatre, they have jinx also. Like you cannot say good luck. Just say break a leg.
Break a leg.
Ah,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
So yeah, these two belief is tested and proven by me.
Really?
Yeah, so
You mean you've eaten the pao and then...
yeah.
Oh,
Genesis, what do you think? Like, are you into this kind of superstitious?
I would say yeah, actually being really cautious. So every time I hear about these kind of things, I'm Chinese lah. There's so many
Superstitions. lah,
superstitions that we have to follow. Like
Correct.
cannot go swimming when it's 7 months.
Across cultures, I think there's superstition in,
Yeah,
in
definitely.
each race also. Lah. Stefan, back to
Yes.
you, Screamapura. Now, this story. Okay, share with us, perhaps, maybe to get the ball rolling with a story, a horror story or a supernatural story, or something mysterious that happened at work that you have no answer to.
Okay, so this happened about 2 to 3 years ago, I guess, when COVID was at a peak. Yeah, so
But then they have all these makeshift hospitals, right?
yeah, so they actually, because the hospitals were actually too packed.
It was
Correct,
flooded,
correct.
right?
So
Yeah,
they
I
had
heard
to
that.
open up
Flooded.
COVID facilities at other areas.
I remember those.
Yeah, so this facility, we had 4 halls that was actually open, but 2 of the halls we started off with 2 halls first.
Okay.
So hall 7 and 8
Okay.
to narrow it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
hall 7 was like the clean place.
Mm-hmm.
Hall 8 was the scary place.
Okay, so wait. This hall is in this place in the eastern part of Singapore.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Okay, for those who don't know, comment below. We
If
wanna
you don't know, you're not a Singaporean.
My colleagues actually experience scary things like it's actually an adult COVID facility, but whenever they walk past this particular room, they can hear kids laughing.
randomly.
Yes, kids running around in the room, playing, laughing, and all this. It's not just 1 or 2. It's like almost every staff that walk past, right, can actually hear this. So when the news came to me, I was like, okay lah, maybe it's fake, maybe it's real. Although I do believe that ghosts exist, you have to see to believe it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So it was during one of my night shifts at 12 a.m. and my colleague and I decided that we are going to find this ghost.
Wow, he's a Ghostbuster part time,
Wow.
Not bad, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, looked like a bit
Brave guy.
look brave, but actually deep down I want to cry. But yeah, why not?
That's okay.
So I went with a female colleague lah, in the hope that she can protect me.
Wow.
So
Very brave of you.
She went
extremely
first.
Very, very progressive of you.
Yeah,
being
that's
honest
right.
on camera, yeah. So she went first, and I was behind her, watching her back, making sure that nothing comes from the back.
You got her
Okay.
back, lah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And hopefully that I can run, cause the staircase was actually behind me.
Okay,
So we walked
Okay.
in the corridor, and we went to that particular room. So this facility is actually 2 stories.
Okay.
So the haunted room is actually at level 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of patients, but we usually fill up the ground level first, then we move on to the second floor. So second floor is relatively empty.
Ah.
Yeah, so we went to this room, and then 12 a.m. you are hoping to see someone. Open the door, look inside. Meh, just 2 single beds, nothing else.
Nothing. Okay.
Yeah, so we are a bit disappointed. So we
Okay.
just closed the door.
Okay.
The moment we turned around, we saw 2 kids laughing and running past us. It's like they literally came towards us.
Oh my god.
Wait, pause,
And
pause,
then-
pause. Like
yeah.
legit 2 kids. Ah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Do you remember what they were wearing, or like what nationality were they? I mean, not nationality, like
Bro, I was dead. I was so scared. Yeah, really.
Wait, were you able to see their face? Like, what are
Yes.
you saying?
So it looked like real life kids
Like
running
real
towards
kids,
you.
not shadows.
No,
whatever.
no, no. It's really they are laughing and running towards you. Yeah, so they came towards us. So you can imagine like the hotel lobby with rooms at the sides.
So they just run across real quick.
So when we turned, we faced the corridor. They ran towards us, and just
They ran towards you.
towards us by the corridor, and then they enter one of the rooms. Like entered with the door closed. So you
Oh,
can
so they
imagine
wanted
how.
you guys to follow them.
They
No, no,
passed
no, no,
through
no,
the
no,
door.
no, 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 no.
script writer.
I cannot, yeah.
Tigil Tales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just vanished through the door into another room.
Oh.
That was when I turned.
You saw it?
And I left the girl and I ran for my life.
Okay, Chop. I know this is such a silly question to ask, but you saw them in flesh and blood,
Yep.
not shadows.
Nope.
Yeah.
And
It's
they
not a
passed
shadow.
through the door.
Okay, they are like half of my size, which is like
Bro,
average kid
they
size.
disintegrated into thin air.
Yes.
Oh, they just. Oh, okay.
Like, you know those movies, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah.
those
They
effects where
dissolved
they just
into the door.
inside.
Yeah.
Like Shadow Cat.
Oh.
Correct. So I don't know what happened to my colleague, cause I made my escape.
Are you guys
Yeah.
still friends? No, right?
She actually left the place like 2 years later. Yeah. I
Now
think
you
she's
know why
still
lah.
around.
Now
But
you
I
know
got her
why.
back.
Of course. Oh, wow.
So yeah, it honestly still creeps me out until now.
Were they laughing?
Yeah, they were laughing and running past us.
Laughing at you.
Maybe.
Wow.
Genesis, would you do something
What
like that?
would have happened? I mean, if
Yeah.
you were in that situation, what would you do?
I think I would have opened the door that the kids went into to see if they were
They are
really
in
there. Yeah. Because they went
Daredevil
into that
says,
random
So
door.
really good, I would have. I would have left lah.
I would have peed in my pants.
Yeah, but I said like, yeah, sorry, I got no paternal instinct whatsoever lah. Bye.
What maternal instinct you want?
Mama take care of like discipline. Oi, why are you walking around? Why are you running around? I don't know.
But to make things worse, it's not only the staff that encounter the ghosts.
The patients as well.
Yes, so like I said, it's the second floor. The floor below, that means exactly below, the patient actually called us up to say, can you ask the kids above to stop jumping? So at that time, it's me and the same colleague again.
Okay.
So, but this was daytime. So me and my colleague, we actually went up to the second floor. We didn't realize at the point of time that it was that room. So we went up to the second floor. We like, okay, just open up. Yeah, it's empty. Yeah, so we went down and told the patient that, okay, we already told the kids and the mom like to just control them and make sure they don't make noise.
Okay. Why did you choose to lie instead of saying the truth?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is it something that nurses do?
Hey, no.
Ooh, accusations
It's
right
not
there.
all nurses. It's just
Shots fired.
him.
This is what nurses do?
Is this a do?
So it's more of like you don't want to scare the patient. They're already sick and they're isolated because of COVID. You wouldn't want to tell them that the place is haunted.
Sense, lah.
Understand? Okay.
So thoughtful.
We're all going through. Okay.
At the same time, I don't know how to answer him.
White lies
properly.
lah.
But
Interesting.
It's a
did
win-win
this
for us.
persist or not? Did this happen just once or did this
A lot of my
persist
colleagues actually encounter those kids
Those two
laughing,
kids, those two
playing
kids,
and all this.
for several days?
Naughty.
Correct. So that whole corridor is kind of haunted.
Oh,
Interesting.
The question is, where are the ghost parents?
I don't know.
I don't want to
Maybe
know.
they're not ghost parents. They're just parents.
Maybe they are often ghosts.
Really?
Maybe.
That's so anticlimax.
But why?
There must be a family. What? I mean, when there's a ghost, there
Family
has
is
to be a father, a mother,
alive,
kids, and then
Maybe
they're
in
all-
the other halls.
Oh,
Probably.
I see.
Okay, but speaking about hospitals and ghosts, do you all have any experiences yourselves where you have experienced anything in hospitals?
Not personally, but I've got this podcast, as you guys know. And this
Podcaster
yeah, but the winner's there lah.
Oh, you're also podcaster.
Podcaster.
Award-winning podcast Never update podcast. Lazy podcaster. You go.
You.
I'm waiting for episodes, you know.
Okay, guys.
Got fan.
Okay.
Fans.
Alright.
Okay.
Okay, but I have a story.
Okay.
Well,
You
you
wanna go
have
first? You
story
go
first?
first?
Okay,
No,
I
you
go
go first, you go
because
first,
mine's
yeah.
quite short.
Yeah.
So my friend is a nurse in one of the hospitals in Singapore. She said, I can never forget this incident where, so it's a high dependency ward, right? So everything got tubes and all that. So she said, on one fine night, just keep it short, okay? It's creepy as hell. Basically, he's like comatose for like, I think 2 months already.
Oh dear.
So she had to do her rounds. One fine night, when she went through her rounds, someone had lifted the body and put it on the floor and
No
wrapped
way.
it up.
And wrapped it up.
And I put a blanket over it.
So he was lying on the floor with a blanket.
Yeah.
Still
Someone
with the
had
tubes on him.
and like, okay, because if he had fell, there would have been a noise or
Yes.
something would have been triggered.
That makes
If you
sense.
know, and then like all the
With the wires and all that, it would have triggered the system.
all attached.
Intact.
It's all intact.
Oh.
So someone had taken the body,
like
put it on the floor,
lightly,
and wrapped
gently
it.
put on
And my
the
friend said like, so my friend thought like he woke up already, you know. So when no, he's still comatose, and he was only one person in that ward.
Oh my god.
Wow. Guys, what was that? Is that part of the plan?
Apologies for that lighting situation. It wasn't planned at all. But I think you got the gist of the story lah. So someone had laid this high dependency patient who's alone in that ward on the floor nicely with
Wow.
the whatever attachments in his body still intact. So moving on to Ravi.
Okay. No more light tricks, guys. So
Technician.
yeah, I hope so. I hope
His finger
so.
slipped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew, mine's from a listener who is a nurse.
Okay.
So she didn't want to mention the hospital, given that she was working there.
Mm-hmm.
She was attending to a patient who was pregnant, but unfortunately passed away. So like you said, you see death and all that, right? So she had to move on. After which she came back to work, I think a month later, the same hospital, just outside the same very ward, was that pregnant lady. She had seen her already. Okay, she's seen her. Unfortunately, she made eye contact with her.
Oh no.
And that thing now realizes that, hey, wait a minute, you can see me too.
Oh.
So I'm going to come after you. So she quickly went to the pantry, moved around, looked at other patients. But throughout the entire shift, that particular pregnant lady, I think we refer to her as pregnant lady at this point, she kept asking that my listener, what happened to my baby? I want to see my baby. So to her understanding is that she gave birth and then she passed away.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the baby passed away
As
along with
well.
her. Yeah. So she told me that after which she went back home, she did some prayers, and she then fought with her manager and said, I'm never going back to that particular hospital for any attachment anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. But she still maintains that till day, whenever I do night shifts, because this happened during a night shift,
Yeah.
I can hear her crying faintly.
Right.
But I don't respond to her anymore.
Yeah.
That's a lifelong trauma,
That's horrific.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, being healthcare professionals, they not
Correct.
only care for those who are alive, but sometimes they also have to think about people who are
It's like an
Yeah.
added-
beyond that.
Right.
What
I'd
are your
say.
experiences dealing with death? I mean, how do you deal with death in general, and especially when you're at work and you see it every other day, like what are your thoughts about it? Like,
It took me years to actually get over it, I would say. So like maybe year 2 of student time where I encountered the first death, and then once I graduated, that's when I actually learned to understand better why doctors have to make the decision to actually call it. But then again, when you're like doing the last office is like when you clean the patient's body for the final time.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so that can be a scary experience the first time.
I
Yeah.
always wondered, do healthcare workers do cleansing? Because I know people who are like undertakers, for example, they do a lot of cleansing, right, to get rid of the
bad
bad luck.
energy,
Yeah,
or bad energy,
whatever they call it.
correct,
lah.
correct. Do you do that?
I would say my luck is actually quite bad, like, no matter how much I cleanse
Regardless?
myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How are you smiling about
Why
that?
do you? You were talking about like whatever you do, regardless of whatever you do, your luck is still like quite bad. Do you experience this kind of things, or you have supernatural episodes like frequently?
Not that I encounter, but I do have colleague who actually shared this story with me that happened in the ward that I worked in. But thankfully, the story happened like years before I even joined the ward.
Okay.
So in this particular hospital, it was in the ICU. So
Okay.
this nurse who actually worked in the intensive care unit.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to her or what stress she was going on.
She committed suicide.
Correct. So she actually took the IV potassium, injected herself,
Oh no.
and her heart stopped, so she passed on.
Oh no.
So this was
at work.
Yep, years
Okay.
ago. So
Okay.
because it was in the ICU, your patients are actually intubated, meaning that you have the tube in their mouth, so they are unable to talk to you like how we are talking now.
Right.
So the only way they can respond is by nodding.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was around 3 a.m. when the nurse who knows about this story and a new nurse were actually going into the room to change the patient's diapers. Imagine like I'm the patient and the nurses are like you and her.
Okay.
You all are changing my diapers and the patient just keep looking up.
Oh.
Why?
Because so the nurse who knows the story asked like, can you see something moving?
Oh. Okay.
The patient is not, yeah.
Oh no.
Then the nurse also asked, is the person wearing the same uniform as us?
No.
He just not, yes.
No.
The nurse who doesn't know the story dropped everything and ran out of the room.
Of course lah.
Yeah. So you can imagine that the ghost didn't actually harm anyone.
Of course lah, but it's just lingering there lah.
Yep.
Because
So
I
flying
think many a
above her.
times, right, these spirits, they are not there to harm anyone, but rather they are seeking attention or maybe validation.
But
or maybe, I don't know, like they have this desire to communicate. They just
Okay.
don't want to harm anyone.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, what
But
do
it's
you
been
think?
so many years, and then she's still lingering, showing her presence to the patients.
Probably lah.
Our years may not be years for them.
Probably, yeah.
Oh.
Makes
Maybe.
sense.
Makes
Yeah,
sense,
it
makes sense.
Makes
That makes
Yeah, we
sense.
Muslims believe in that time difference.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm very interested to know, like, if you have any stories pertaining to hospitals or nurses or patients in general.
Have one
Okay, go.
that, but it's not. Okay, this one is more spooky, I feel.
Okay.
So basically, this didn't happen in Singapore. was a hospital in the Philippines.
Okay.
And then that night it was rainy, there was a huge storm, and then the signal was bad. Okay, that's the context. Afterwards, it happened in the morgue. So there was this staff. He was on the night shift, he was watching over the room, and then his other colleagues were like performing experiments, right? So so he was just in that room with all the dead bodies. And then because of the flood, the storm, the rain, and the water levels just started creeping up. So it seeped into the hospital
Mortuary.
room, right?
The morgue.
The morgue, right? And then slowly by slowly, the water level was like really up his ankle, up to his calf, and then before he knew it, right, he was alone in that room. Within like 10 minutes, right, there were just like dead bodies floating over him in that room. Yeah,
That's terrifying.
it was crazy. And afterwards, he was so scared. Obviously, right, he was shaking, and then he was trying to open the door because that door it didn't require an access card to tap out to like exit. But then for some reason that door was just stuck.
It was locked.
He couldn't. He could actually just open it, press some button, open the door, right? But he couldn't. So he was just like banging on the door and like hoping that someone would come and save him, lah. But the signal was bad, and then he couldn't contact any of his colleagues. So with like the water creeping up to his waist level, bodies floating around him, he just like stopped for a moment, and then he said a prayer. And then after that, maybe it's coincidence, maybe the prayer worked. One of his colleague came and then from the outside tapped the door and then opened saved him, opened the door, and then the water gushed out, and then they put the bodies back.
Nice. I mean, not
Nice.
but like, okay lah, good ending lah.
Okay lah, good ending.
This could have gone okay.
You could have gone
Live
terribly wrong.
happily ever after.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm very interested to know this, and I've always wanted to ask a nurse about this, right, face to face. But now that we are here, fantastic, Stefan. You know how sometimes like the final moments before death, right, where people can see things. You know, people are being
Delirious?
maybe delirious, but they see things. You know, we Muslims
Moving
believe
into the light, you mean?
Like they're
no.
on
There's
that
like-
line.
They will, one of the signs that they say that when you are going to go is when you see angels.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Shapes and sizes, different
Yes,
sizes.
yes.
I have had experience, a relative who woke up one day before he passed away said that, why are there like a lot of men in white jubah reading the prayers around his bed? And we're like, there's no one there. So the
Okay.
next day he passed away. So I'm very intrigued to know like if there's any stories where patients whisper to you like, there's something here trying to take me away. I don't know.
Ooh.
I'll be very interested to know if you have
Yeah.
any experiences.
I think my patients back then were all like intubated, so they can't actually talk to
Oh,
us.
okay,
So
okay.
most of them might be like comatose mode
Oh.
because of all the medicines running through them. Yeah, so this kind of encounter I didn't
Don't have.
actually had any yet.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Stefan might not have had
But
that.
you've heard stories, right, whereby they say, can you please ask these children to leave, stop running around? Can you please ask that woman to leave? You know, like they see things before they go away.
I've got one, like one of
Go
my
for it.
friends, his grandmother passed away, and he flew down just to come and see her, comfort her before she leaves, right? In that sense, because they know that she was going off. And at some point, she looked at him and she said something along those lines that Tata, which is grandfather, he's here, who also passed away. 5 minutes later, he just went to get a drink. She passed away. So, as you said, in line with what you said, maybe he was there to take his wife.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a similar story, but this one was my grandmother. So at the time, I think she was very ill. Her hair was like thinning, and then her cheeks were all hollowed out. Her skin was like yellowish.
Oh dear.
She was on the hospital bed. Like that night, she said, "Oh, I cannot see very clearly, but there I can hear a lot of metal chain sounds, like shackles sound. Right?
It's coming for her.
It's coming for her." That was the night before, and then the next morning she said, I see people, because I don't know why, but she couldn't see very clearly. It was not I don't think it was an eye issue, I think it was more of a,
Hallucination?
maybe hallucination. It was quite foggy, but she said she saw like New To Ma Mian, which means directly translated cow face, horse face. Okay, basically it's like you can see. I don't know if you've seen like those Chinese demons.
I have
Right.
in Haw Par Villa, right? So basically they're
Okay,
like,
like
they're
half humans,
guardians
half
of health,
Yeah.
like that.
animals.
So
Yeah.
half
Half animal, half human, right? She said she sees like these people
In a
with
cow.
the chains coming for her
no.
to
'Cause
bring
in
her
the
away.
Hindu culture, we also believe that
Same
this deity called Yemen,
Mhm.
who travels in this buffalo, who then comes for you.
Oh.
To
As-
take away your soul.
Yes, based
Okay.
on your good deeds and bad deeds.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's very similar.
Right.
Right.
To what you're trying to say.
So afterwards, that night, it was in the morning, right? Then that afternoon, right before she died, I don't know why, but she let out this like blood-curdling scream, and then she died.
Oh dear.
Your late grandmother.
Late grandmother.
Did you experience this? Like did you?
I
hear
did
her?
not. She passed away before I was born. So
So
you
you
heard
didn't
the
see the
story.
story, no.
For you. Interesting, huh? I mean,
Wow.
if you don't mind me asking, like, what's your faith?
Christianity.
Do you believe in like the last moments where someone will come and take away your life? Because I think across the board, I mean, we Muslims believe it too, like, you know. Yeah.
Relative will actually know when the patient is going to pass on. Yeah, I think somehow, especially like those, like, because I have this patient, she was a grandmother, and it's my colleague's grandma, my ex-colleague's grandma, who was actually admitted in the ICU that I was working.
Okay.
So the mom was actually, that means my colleague's mom, was actually, she knows like when her mom, which is the patient that is going to pass on, so it's like she can go do her things and all this. Then suddenly she came back, like out of the blue, the patient seems like okay. The moment she came back, she went to talk to the patient just passed on. It's like the rest of the relative were there, but the patient never passed away. The moment the mom actually came back, right, the
She
patient
waited.
passed. Yeah, that's what I can think of lah. Like maybe the patients, or they just waiting for that one person that they really want to see before, or feel their presence before they just go off. Yeah.
It's interesting
This
how
is-
life and death
Yeah.
starts at the very same place
Correct.
where you work. And as much as you see people passing on, you also see celebration of life. How does that make you feel? I mean, in general.
You just have to deal with your emotions professionally, I think.
Yeah.
Because you might be looking after two patients.
Correct.
One patient just passed away. You need to be professional in the way you talk to the next of kin and all these. You go
Yeah.
about doing your whatever death things you all need to settle with the family with. The next moment, you need to go to another patient looking happy because probably they are going home or
Correct,
something. Right?
But is there ever been a death, in your professional career, a death that till date you are,
You cannot stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
The death that you cannot stop thinking about.
you could have seen them disintegrating in front of you.
Correct.
Or,
Or you would have cared for this person.
yeah.
I like how we're like drilling him,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
tell us.
Or the body caught on fire or something.
Not so dramatic, but I guess it's a patient that my whole ward actually love because he's a 21-year-old guy.
Oh.
Too young to die. Yeah, but he's a 21-year-old guy. This guy was like our favorite patient because why? He's the only one who actually tell you thank you. Whenever we help him, he can't actually talk because of the tube in the mouth, but he will type in the phone, thank you for doing this, thank you for doing that. all
That's
this.
gratitude.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's like whenever you go in the room, because he's a youngster, he got all the clubbing music in the room. So when you do your work, right, it's like, okay, you're partying, but I know the patient is there, lah, but
Yep.
he's also in a party mood, right?
Yeah.
But the sad thing was, he just finished his national service when he found out he got stage 4 cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, so 21 years old, you just finished your national service, that is when you think that you want to start your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
life
but
just beginning.
It's just-
His life started in the
Yeah.
hospital, and
Oh
also
my god.
I was thankful that when he passed away, I was not there because it was too depressing. All my colleagues actually cried.
Wow.
So I mean, I was quite close to him because most of the time I was attached or I was posted to look after him, lah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was thankful that I was not there because I don't think
You would have been able to recover from that.
because he was really one of the nicest patients. Even his parents, right? They're not well to do. but they will actually go down buy you drinks.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's those simple gestures that actually
Has he ever
Makes your
paid a
day.
visit to you? If you know what I
Nope.
mean.
No, not really. But I did wrote about him in one of my blogs as
Nice.
my favorite patient or the best
Oh.
patient that I ever nursed.
Nice.
Yeah, because you don't actually get patients who tell you thank you or relatives that actually tell you thank you.
Yeah.
Most of the time they just find fault with you and all this.
Oh.
Understand.
Just being honest,
Yeah,
yeah,
of
so-
course. Tensions are high, emotions are high, huh?
Correct. So this
Very genuine
patient
and
was actually
sincere.
genuine, yeah, and the family was also like caring for the staff more and also caring for the patient. Right? Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, not
Must
a
be
ghost
tough.
story, but
It must be very tough.
Must be
but
very tough.
you know, as he was saying about the story, you're almost gonna break down. So
Right.
thank you so much, Stefan,
Yeah.
for holding it
Yeah.
back and delivering it as best as you can.
And sharing
thank you
your
for
story.
inviting me.
Thank you. If you have more stories, please feel free to share. Okay, we'll be here for you. I'll open up this
The lights.
my humble abode for you. No, don't say. Okay. Thank you, Stefan, for taking the time off your busy schedule of being a healthcare worker in Singapore to share stories
Definitely.
of hospitals with us. Thank you so much. And for those of you who would like to listen to more Screamapura stories, please feel free to watch us. There's more episodes and more interesting individuals coming on our show.
Tune in to Me Listen, Me Watch, MediaCorp Entertainment on YouTube and MediaCorp social media platforms for more Screamer Pura scares.
Don't forget to watch, listen, and scream. See you in the next Scream Pura Tales.